Okay. Mr. Red.
Okay, we need to come out of executive session. Could I get a first, Councilmember Kaminsky, seconded by Councilmember Adamczak, to come out of executive session? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And now we'll move on to our regular meeting. Could we please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please continue to stand as we have a moment of silence for our veterans. Reverend Rick is right here tonight for the invocation.
Our hearts are a little heavy tonight. One gentleman who always sits right there, always has a question, is at Roswell right now for cancer treatment, Dave Uzar. So just want to let you know we're going to pray for him and also for Officer Black Chief. We don't want to forget him either and his family. Father, as we stand before you, Lord, we're family, we're residents, we all are together here in Cheektowaga. And when one are missing, Lord, we feel it. And we think of Dave, Lord, who went through cancer surgery. We're asking, Father God, for healing for him. And for Officer Black Chief, Father, who put his life on the line, Lord, and got hurt. We're asking, Father, for healing for him and strength for his family. And we thank you for all our police officers, Lord, the new ones who are coming up today. That, Lord God, that you would protect them and their families as they protect us, the residents of Cheektowaga. We thank you, Father, for your goodness and mercy. We ask your presence here as we do your business, Father, in this town. And, Father, let it be peaceful. And we ask, Father, your blessing. We ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call? And thank you, Reverend Rick.
Councilmember Christine Adamczak. Councilmember Linda Hammer. Councilmember Michael Jazinski.
Here.
Councilmember Gerald Kaminsky.
Present.
Councilmember Brian Nowak.
Here.
Councilmember Brian Pilarski.
Present.
Supervisor Diane Bunchkowski.
Here. Okay, we're all here tonight, the entire board. We do have a presentation, storm ready from Erie County. Okay, good. We have Mike Mazurowski to present them to the board.
Good evening, members of the board. We have with us today Judy Levan and Mike Fries. Mike is the
Could you just
emergency
speak up a little?
Mike is the emergency warning coordinator for the Weather Service, and Judy is the director of the National Weather Service. We had applied for the Storm Ready certification, which we've done every year, for every 3 years for at least a dozen past years. And it requires us, in order to be evaluated, for a number of requirements to have emergency preparedness done. And they come in and evaluate us and make sure that we're up to snuff, and we're successful in getting recertification this year. So I'll turn it over to Judy, who has a little bit of information for you.
Good evening. We Americans live in the most severe weather-prone country on Earth. Each year, a startling 10,000 thunderstorms, 2,500 floods, and 1,000 tornadoes impact the United States. Extreme or hazardous weather events are not uncommon in the town of Cheektowaga. If we look back over the past, we can include the tornadoes that occurred in June of 2006, the lake effect snowstorms in November of 2014 and 2022, and we can't forget the blizzard this past December. Over 95% of all presidentially declared disasters are weather-related. Through the Storm Ready program, the National Weather Service gives communities the skills and education needed to survive severe weather before and during these events. Emergency managers deal with severe weather and flooding more than any other type of disaster. Because of this, National Weather Service and local emergency managers like Mike Mazurowski have formed partnerships. Our missions are the same, to protect life and property. The National Weather Service's Storm Ready program started in 1999 with 7 communities in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. There are now over 3,300 Storm Ready communities across the country. The program is voluntary and provides communities with clear-cut advice from a partnership between the local National Weather Service forecast offices and state and local emergency managers. To be recognized as Storm Ready, there are several requirements a community must meet. These include the establishment of a 24-hour warning point and emergency operations center, having multiple ways to receive severe weather forecast and warnings and to alert the public, create a system that monitors local weather conditions, promote the importance of public readiness through community seminars and education, and develop a formal hazardous weather plan which includes training severe weather spotters and holding emergency exercises. Storm-ready communities have improved communication and safety skills needed to save lives and property before and during an event. I am happy to say that the town of Cheektowaga not has only met these criteria, but has substantially exceeded them in many categories. Since the original Storm-ready designation in 2007, the town has shown commitment to emergency management with additional staff. They've been an active participant in several large-scale drills and incidents and has an active CERT, Citizen Emergency Response Team. The continued efforts of Mike Mazurowski are to be commended. It's my pleasure and honor as meteorologist in charge to reaffirm the storm-ready status of the town of Cheektowaga through 2027. On behalf of the National Weather Service, I congratulate Mike, Supervisor Benchkowski, and the entire leadership of the town of Cheektowaga for their proactive approach to hazardous and winter weather preparedness. I look forward to a continued strong partnership between the town and the National Weather Service. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Want to take a quick picture?
Sure, thank you.
I'll do 2. Okay. And then this one. One more. Okay.
Okay, I should have grabbed those sheets, but this is an opportunity, we're moving on to the public comment period. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on items appearing on the agenda of the town board meeting tonight. The public comment period should last 15 minutes maximum. Each speaker may speak only once, and each speaker will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. And just so we have the understanding that there are separate times for the 2 public hearings we have on the agenda tonight. Thank you. So right now, nobody has signed up to speak on agenda items. Is that correct? Anybody want to speak on agenda items besides the public hearings? So with that, we'll close that comment period and move on to public hearings. Madam Clerk?
I have a call for public hearing that was made at the May 23rd Town Board meeting, resolution item 2023-301, to discuss a partial exemption for taxation to the extent of 50% to the assessed valuation of real property which is owned by certain persons with limited income who are 65 years of age or over and meeting the requirements set forth in Real Property Tax Law 467. My office did receive 2 comments. Those comments were forwarded to the town board for review prior to this meeting.
And they'll be part of the record, correct? Okay, so those 2 comments will be part of the record, and then we'll move on to whoever is here in person tonight. Gary Borek. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes.
Hello, Council. Can I
Yes.
pass them out to each other?
Mhm. Are these,
Yeah, I think the pile is that way. I think I only need one on that side.
I don't,
Linda's got them all.
oh, Linda has them all, okay. Jerry, pass that down to Brian.
I want to support and hope that you'll all support this change. I wish it was more than it is. It's 40,000 appears to be a compromise. I've handed you these sheets to remind you what happened back in 2019, 2020. We had a lot of seniors. These are just 4 seniors on my street. We had a lot of seniors who were being taxed, being assessed here. Here's level. They were up here. We had other seniors down here. We had a class action lawsuit. The settlement brought these seniors down, along with everybody else, to level. The next year, we brought these people up. There were seniors in that group, and they did have to pay more tax. That's true, because they were underpaying for many years. And I had empathy with the fact that they now had a new tax bill. I didn't have much sympathy because they had not been paying as much as others in those previous years. So now we got them all leveled. All right? And now you can help all seniors under 40. You can help them all by bringing them down together. That's what this new bill does. It brings them all down. It gives them all a little break. All right? And that's why I think you should vote for it. I hope you pass it the next meeting. I hope you give it good consideration. I know there's arguments on the other side. Yes, somebody else is going to have to pay. The Walden Galleria, they're going to pay more, along with all of you who aren't seniors, and me, because I don't make less than 40, so I'm going to pay more too. Yes, we are. But it's not going to be that big of a hit for us. What, $1 or $2 more on our individual bills? The Walden Galleria, maybe they're going to get a $30,000 bill. They're not here arguing about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, next speaker, what do I do with that? Is Sandy Prisbalak.
I'm here to speak in support of the bill as well. I believe that it's something that we can do for all the seniors, especially low-income seniors in the town of Cheektowaga, to help them out with their tax bills. I do feel the plight of the young people in this economy, that, you know, they're paying more for everything, and it's hard, you know, it's hard for them to buy a house and pay off student debts and all the debts and just survive in this economy as well. But this is a little something we can do for our seniors that would help them out and take some off their assessed value at tax time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Would anybody else like to speak while we're in the public hearing about this?
Supervisor, I guess I would like to reflect that if we're not going to read the ones that were submitted, that at least to recognize that they were not in support of this change.
Sure. Okay, so there were 2 not in support. I'm just going to clarify that this new law, you have to make less than $40,000. So it's not going to affect every senior, but it'll also affect the ones that are needing it the most. When you become a senior, it's harder to make extra income also. Your Social Security, right now, the way the last revision we made, it's just covering the increase in Social Security, whereas at least this will actually help some that aren't getting it now to get this extra exemption to help them so that they can have some extra money for food and necessities. It's not a big ask, but it's something, especially when their assessments were going up, they felt that their taxes were going higher than what they could afford. So that's pretty much what that bill is covering. But it's for low to moderate income seniors. It's not for every senior, unfortunately. Any other board members have anything to say about the? Okay, so we'll call this public
Can
hearing
I,
to.
well, oh,
Yes.
sorry.
That's all right.
Can we keep this open one more meeting? I just still would like some data on it, and the fact that we don't have an assessor right now to provide that data is a little difficult to see how many it would impact and affect. We got good data the last time when we increased it a little bit, and I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm just not ready to
Can
make
you
that
get that
decision.
data from?
I'll try to get it from Michael and that,
Probably
yes.
has it, probably
And see if we
ready
can
to go.
circulate it to all of us. Yes, please.
And send it to all of us.
Absolutely.
So we'll keep this open till the next board meeting. Which is, I think it's June 27th, I believe, so. All right, we'll keep this public hearing open and go on to number 2, the rezoning for Clinton Street.
A call for public hearing was made at the May 23rd Town Board meeting, Resolution 2023-328, to discuss the request by Buffalo Bungalow, Inc. on behalf of Pocketeer Billiards LLC, a request that 2460 Clinton Street, that would be SBL 124-30-3-6.11, be rezoned from current designations of CM General Commercial and R Residential to solely CM General Commercial. My office received no comments on this.
I have nobody that signed up to speak on this. Would anyone like to speak about the rezoning for 2460 Clinton, which is where the Pocketeer Billiards is? Okay. Are you the developer?
No, I'm the engineer, site engineer
Oh.
from GPI. I'm here to answer
Okay,
any
good.
questions you might have or tell you a little bit more about the
Well, just
project.
tell us about the project. That would be good.
Well, I do have slides, but briefly.
All right, that's fine. Did you send them to the town clerk or not?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Could you put them up so we can see the project?
Well, are we familiar with Pocketeer?
Yes, I think we all know where it is. so-
Currently at
Why don't you
2444
explain it?
Clinton.
Yes.
They also own 2460 Clinton, the adjacent parcel, which is currently zoned CM on the Clinton Street frontage where the Clinton Tavern used to be. The Viola Street narrower frontage is in an R district, and that's the location where Pocketeer is proposing to expand their building out the east side to within 25 feet of the property line. It's about a 6,000 square foot addition. That would be for game room only and arcade. The site plan that we have has been updated with comments from the Environmental Advisory Committee and other reviewing agencies. We've received approval for 2 variance requests related to building setback and parking. And we would hope you consider our request to make the entire parcel a CM zone.
Is it near any residential?
Well, there's residential adjacent, and then across the street, I think it's multifamily housing.
Yeah, okay. Any questions from the board members? Okay, well, thank you. So I'm going to call this public hearing to a close. And we'll move on to the consent agenda announcement. Tonight, we have a consent agenda as part of this meeting. If any council member wishes to remove an item for discussion, please tell me now, and I will remove the item from the consent agenda, and it will be added as a separate resolution item. Anybody? Okay, with that said, I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented. Councilmember Kaminsky, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And I will pass it on to you, Madam Clerk.
I have a motion by Supervisor Benchkowski, second by Councilmember Kaminsky, to approve all items on the consent agenda, including the meeting minutes of May 23rd, 2023, and resolution items 2023-331 through 365. I need a roll call vote to approve the consent agenda items. Councilmember Adamzak? Yes. Councilmember Hammer? Yes. Councilmember Jazinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Nowak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Supervisor Benchkowski?
Yes.
All items have been approved. We have no separate resolution items, and we have no waiver items today. So we will move on to communications. Departmental communications received by my office include the meeting minutes of the Veterans Affairs Committee of May 3rd, the minutes from the Traffic Safety Commission of May 16th, minutes for the Board of Ethics of May 23rd, and minutes for the Conservation Advisory Council of June 1st. General communications are 3 notices of claim.
Okay, so on to comments. I really have no supervisors' comments. Any board members, council members? Councilmember Pilarski?
Yeah, so it's, we as a town board are happy to announce that our pools will be opening up this year. June 21st, Town Park, June 24th, Maryville. Unfortunately, Dingen Pool needs some work to be done. A water line broke, so we're going to work on that. It will not be open this season. Our youth and rec director did an awesome job in finding enough lifeguards. We could have had all 3 opened. She has enough, and then employees just around the board for youth and rec. So many programs going on, summer lunches, park rotations, a lot of free services out there and programs this summer for the kids.
Wonderful. Councilmember Noack?
Yes, on July 3rd, the town is going to hold its annual Freedom Fest. That's going to start just after 5 p.m. with a short program. Music will start around 5:30, and there'll be entertainment for the evening there. There's going to be some food trucks. We're going to have a beer tent, and everyone's invited to come out to that.
Wonderful. Anybody else?
4th of July parade also, noon on the 4th.
Contact Councilmember Pilarski if you'd like to march. It's free of charge. But he has an application form for you, so we're hoping to get a lot of participants. Any other council members? Okay, I'll move on to the regular. Thank you. Appreciate that. Public comments. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on matters involving Cheektowaga. The public comment period should last 15 minutes maximum. Each speaker may speak only once, and each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. Reverend Rick, you're up.
I'm not here to beat you up. But some of you were at the Do the Right Thing dinner on Thursday. That was wonderful, wasn't it? It was great to see that. And thanks for our police officers, our police department that sets it up, especially for Jen and Paul, and and Lieutenant Schmidt. So that was beautiful to see the kids from the different districts coming in, doing the right thing, and it was really wonderful. I do want to mention, I don't know who did it. I couldn't get a name. Some of you were at the War of 1812 ceremony. Whoever did that landscaping there did a beautiful job. I don't know the person's name, but that person should be called out and tell them what a job that they did with the mounds, with the cannon, with everything that happened there. It was beautiful. And thank you for the board members who did come out and celebrate our history. The bad thing I heard yesterday really irked me, and I'm glad you're going, thinking about for the seniors, for their taxes. I was at Maryville School Board meeting last night, and there is an issue that was voted on by our state legislators, that if anybody was molested back up to 50 years ago, all right, they're going to sue the districts. So Maryville has to put in a bond issue for over $5 million to cover these. For 50 years ago. I can understand if it was 7 or maybe 20, 50 years ago, okay? Well, what's that doing to our, what's that gonna do to our school budgets? What's that gonna do to the rest of the school districts? What's that gonna do with the taxpayers, especially our seniors? I mean, I would pray that our elected officials would think about everything what they do is gonna affect somebody, and it's gonna affect our seniors. Our seniors are hurting. And I'm totally disgusted with it. So I'm sure it's gonna be in the B. I'm sure that this is gonna come out. It's gonna come out big, because this is just Maryvale. What happens with Depew, Cheektowaga Central, Cheektowaga Sloan, all of them, they're all gonna be sued. Every one of them, for something that's happened 50 years ago.
Thank you, Reverend. Gary Borak.
I'm going to keep coming back, and I'm going to keep asking you to enact a local law, which you can do, to allow people to file their petitions for the Board of Assessment review by email, and to make other reforms to that process to make it as easy as possible for people who have an issue with their assessment to challenge it. Because until people think that it's a fair and equitable and accessible system, you're going to have people thinking that they are being cheated. And it's not that hard a thing to do, to allow them to file it by email and to have the clerk simply acknowledge the receipt of it by email. I had plenty of people call me in the last day, and I said, I just can't do it. I cannot get over there. I can't carry 10, I can't get 10, if I could do it by email, I could stay up all night and do it, but I can't get them over there the next day. And it's a simple thing, and you can do it. You don't have to, but you can. So I hope you'll get that done before the next round comes up next year. Thank you.
Good idea, thank you. Melissa Golan?
So I want to take this opportunity this evening to lay out a timeline of the events for 1551 Harlem. On March 14th, 2023 was the first meeting residents were invited to offer public comment on the drive-through for a nondescript corporation. It was a meeting where it was revealed that the drive-through was for Tim Hortons. This item was coming before the board because of local law 26048.2B subsection 2. A special use permit is required for the establishment of a drive-through. In subsequent meetings, town officials admitted that the current drive-through on the site was established historically, there was no documentation, was not compliant with code. It was even stated that there was documentation that special use permits were non-transferable. At those same meetings, you offered suggestions on how to help the residents in this project was to move forward. Higher fencing, lighting adjustments, relocation of the window, order board orientation, speaker direction, making cars queue from Harlem, limiting egress and ingress from William, adjusting the exit loop back to the parking lot rather than the forced drop onto Harlem. All of that came from you. At the meeting on April 11th, it was stated that the project needed a seeker and was on the environmental committee agenda to go for DOT review. On April 12th, the town planner stated the item was pulled from the agenda and referred to the law department. Fast forward to yesterday. Wally Carriero asked for a meeting to better understand the status of the project and the code. That is where we learned the town's position on this project has changed. The town attorney stated the project should have never come for public comment, nor for you to the board as an opportunity to weigh in. He stated the town planner was incorrect in reading the code, which is only after Corey from Damon and Barclay appeared before you. What I understand this to mean is Tim Hortons just moves in. By stating they are making no modifications, they assume the non-compliant, non-permitted drive-through and bring a high-volume fast food donut establishment to a residential neighborhood. This town is choosing to allow this to move forward without modifications because in asking for the special use permit, even the lighting or the fence changes and the configuration changes that you suggested would void the perceived loophole the franchise owner is banking on for this project. None of the safeguards that are in place to protect the residents and their quality of life mean anything. It is a selective interpretation of the code and enforcement of that code, and this is a very slippery slope. The town attorney did not want me in attendance at this meeting yesterday because of my education. He also stated he has a suit upstairs and has no problem going to court. Why should he challenge us as residents when you were elected to enforce the code and to protect
I'm
our
just going to
quality of
tell you,
life?
Melissa, not to like bash our attorney, okay? Because I'm going to have to stop you then.
She did not bash the attorney. She made a statement that he made for her.
Well, we didn't all hear it, so it's hearsay.
She's just reciting facts.
Yeah, look, Wally, okay, just, you have a few minutes, or you have a few seconds, go ahead.
Since I am not sure that you read the code each night before bed,
Yeah. Yeah. Oops, I don't know how to get that to stop. Sorry about that, Melissa. I'll give you like another minute because I interrupted you.
since I am not sure you read the code each night before bed and what legal opinion the town attorney is sharing with you for the record, we are going to cite the code sections for you on how this project is non-compliant. The reason, the scope of this issue is beyond Tim Hortons. What other projects happen because residents do not know how to have an effective voice, how to if they're unsure of the process, unfamiliar with the code, and blindly believe someone's protecting their interests. Sadly, I believe if this was going in your backyard, my gut is you may have a different opinion. You would look out for the neighborhood and enforce the code. So with that, here is the town code and all of how it applies to this project. So 26046, the intent of the zoning regulations is to provide use and construction to standards. 26047, a special use permit may only be issued if it is supported by substantial evidence that the proposed drive-through is consistent with the requirements of 26047.
Well, she has another 3 then, so you don't want to speak? Okay. Okay, Melissa, go ahead. I'll give you another 3 minutes, so to give Carolyn's.
26047 subsection C. The board is to minimize adverse effects of the character of the The board is to minimize the adverse effects of the character of the surrounding area and to safeguard the public health, safety, and general welfare. A Tim Hortons with traffic, cars, lights, sound, air pollution is all about adverse impacts. 26047D. Cannot issue a permit that will not be in harmony with the purpose and the intent of the code, will depreciate the adjacent property value, will create a hazard to health, safety, and general welfare, will alter the essential character of the neighborhoods and be detrimental to the residents, and will be detrimental to public welfare. This project is not in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the town code, will depreciate property values of the adjacent property, will create a hazard to health, safety, and general welfare, and will alter the essential character of the neighborhood and be detrimental to the residents. 26047F. Special use permits are only authorized for a particular use, specified area. In other words, not grandfathered in perpetuity. Town codes, special use permits, 26048.2, subsection A. Standards for drive-throughs are to regulate the negative impacts of drive-throughs. Town board determined that this standard is needed because of the potential adverse impacts that result from the operation and location of drive-throughs on traffic safety, adjacent roadways, and the negative impact on existing residential uses. You want to minimize traffic conflicts of vehicles queuing in drive-throughs for service, have safe movement on traffic and public streets, minimize nuances to abutting properties, particularly existing residential uses, and these houses have been in existence since 1950, and recognize operational differences between different land use and drive-throughs. 26047.2B1. A special use permit is required. The drive-through is not a right. Further, a special use permit may only be issued if the town board makes a finding that is supported by, once again, substantial evidence that the proposed drive-through is consistent with 26047. Note the term again of substantial evidence. There is no evidence that this drive-through is consistent. It's actually on the record that it's not. 26048B2 applies to new and modified special use permits. But putting up a new sign is a modification, because if you reference 26050E, you need a permit for new signage. 26048.2D1, the difference between drive-through facilities and fast food restaurants, donut shops, and banks versus drive-through facilities for less intensive uses. Tim Hortons definitely falls into the fast food donut shop category. We're hot dog heaven with 2 cars an hour with a much less invasive use. That is a different use. 26048.2D2, you need 75 feet between a drive-through lane and the adjacent residential property. Here, there are 7 feet between the property line and the drive-through. 260-48-2D3, the order board should not be audible at the residential property line. Hence why there needs to be a 75-foot buffer, and that's why the code says 75 feet. With just 7 feet, you're gonna hear it. The code further says it should only be 50 decibels 4 feet away from the board. That means with no buffer, you will hear it at the property line. There is no way to be compliant. The residents already have come here and stated that they hear the Hot Dog Heaven order microphone, which is a low volume at peak hours, and the operation is centered around lunchtime. It's not starting at 5 a.m. with high volume ordering and peaking again at mid-afternoon. 260-48-2H. When it proves to be a nuisance, the town board can rescind a special use permit.
Your time is up. How much more do you have to go? Like,
The next person.
Chris Ratchka? Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. 260-48-2I. A special use permit is not subject to variance by the town zoning board. The town board can vary the provisions, but only if the variance is supported by sufficient evidence, once again, sufficient evidence, that the variation is necessary because of an unnecessary hardship to the applicant. There is no hardship to this applicant. The site is non-compliant. They are stating they are not doing any modifications to the site because they don't want to trigger the site development requirements. They are trying to work a perceived loophole. This loophole is not a hardship. So that is the code. Remember the residents who came before you asking for you to follow this code and to protect their neighborhood. There were 89 who signed the petition, those who came before you to speak, those who sat in the gallery when they were not comfortable speaking, those who had written in and added their comments to the record. There were comments submitted from the online chat groups as well. There were the emails that were not read into the record that you saw as well. These facts should speak for themselves. It is not about, at this point, just the Tim Hortons. It is about how this town operates and where you are elected to represent us and our best interests. Thank you.
Okay, next, Sandy Prisbalak. Oh, you sure? Okay. Maybe we can bring the mic, no, it's connected, the microphone's connected. Okay, sorry. And Heather Alt. Oh, wait, hold on, Heather, okay? We have, the town attorney would like to make a statement.
Just for the sake of the record, that was a very disingenuous dissertation of what happened. We had over an hour meeting yesterday that I was summoned to by one of the council members, and your comment that I did not want you there because of your education is patently false. That's not why. Why don't you tell everybody why we had that conversation, ma'am? We had that conversation because, like I said, if you're intimating that you're going to have a lawsuit or litigation, no, let me finish. My obligation to the town and to these residents and to the rest of the residents in town is to make sure that if we're going to have litigation, that the council member who was there doesn't say anything, or the department head who was there, that you were trying to get to say what you wanted him to say because you weren't happy with what he said. It's my job to put the kibosh on that, which is what I did. And we listened. We had a nice conversation, did we not? Did we not have a nice conversation for over an hour? Yes, we did. Because Councilmember Adamczak was there, as was Brian Horstman as a witness. So we discussed it. We talked about it, and I think Mr. Wally, who was there in the front row, was there. And we gave you ample enough time. This thing went to a public hearing on 2 separate weeks. And it's disingenuous for you to say, and to quote me in saying that it never should have gotten there. You talked to another department head who didn't confer with us, or me, or the board, and I didn't say it shouldn't have happened. I said based on the type of action that it was, as far as seeker, it wasn't required. That's what I said. That's patently different from it shouldn't have happened versus it's not required. It's not required, but the board, and I discussed yesterday, they decided it was a very important issue, and they held a public hearing. Not 1 week, but 2. You're right, exactly. It was more than 2. So they took it very seriously, but once, so you inferred to me that you're not a practicing attorney. You said that a few other times, but when you come here, you want to make mention that you're an attorney. So you are okay, and as like you put out, as you clarified to me yesterday, you are an attorney, and you don't have to be an attorney to file Article 78 or to file any other cause of action. You said that, not me. So, no, you said that. You said that. You said that. And I taped it. So we did say it. It was on recording because we were down in the vestibule. So number 2, I don't want anybody to leave here thinking that I didn't want you there because you were an attorney. I was called there by the council member because you are an attorney, and she was concerned, and she has good instincts, that if you were going to act either on behalf, like some other residents do who are in the room, who are attorneys and they represent folks, you have that right. But like you pointed out, you don't have to be an attorney. So if you're going to, dance around the fact that you're going to file litigation, it's my obligation to the residents, who are the taxpayers, that I have to protect the board and make sure that they're not going down a path where they're going to be exhibit number 1. Well, because we talked about that. So, I mean, it really is disingenuous to come here and to make these comments that are mischaracterizations of what transpired yesterday when we talked for over an hour. I mean, I thought you left there very comfortable. We had a nice conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Councilmember Adamczak, but so I.
Well, hold on, I have to put a stop now.
Okay,
'cause I
can I
need him
finish?
to finish his statement. He listened to yours. We'll let him finish.
Well,
then we'll
and
move on.
what we said was, if you're not happy, and because you come up here and quote and read from the code, I mean, it sounds great, but it's not accurate. And just because you think it is, and because everybody else, it sounds nice, but it's definitely not. It's not my opinion. And the board can do whatever they want. And other department heads, who didn't confer, has their opinion. And like I told you before, they don't have to take my opinion, but that's what the opinion is. And there are maybe a lot of other residents who want that to be a Tim Hortons. I don't know. It's not up to me. But you just didn't like the answer.
Okay, so are you done?
Well,
I don't want it to be a back and
no, I understand that, but you have to make it clear, because this is on YouTube. So if it does go to litigation, which we talked about in our society, if you're not happy, that's your right, and we talked about that, and I thought it was a pleasant conversation. Well, you were there. I mean, there was no animosity. I thought we were trying to clarify things, So I just wanted to correct the record in terms of I didn't want you there, because that absolutely was not true at all. Not true at all. I mean, Councilmember Adamczak afforded over an hour to this. So.
Downstairs, Rick Colburn was there as well.
Okay. Are we good? Attorney Duziak? For right now, okay. All right, so we're going beyond the time. I'll make a motion to go. Wait, we need Heather has to come up first. No, you're welcome to that. I'll make a motion to extend the public comment period, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. All in favor? Aye, opposed. Heather, you want to go, and then we can have Wally speak.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to interrupt the.
That's all right. Well, it's just the order it's in.
Let's see, so I'm here just to make some comments about street trees. On May 5th, there was a Facebook post on the Town of Cheektowaga's website that said, "Tree planting time. New trees are being offered to Cheektowaga homeowners for spring plantings. They can only be planted in the town's right-of-way. To request a tree planting, call or email, etc." So I said, great. I've already been doing a lot of research on trees and how they could positively affect my neighborhood. So I created about 100 flyers with this same information from the Facebook post and just passed them out along Eggert Road and East Delavan. So some of the benefits to street trees are, there's 6 primary ones that I've done some research on. They reduce traffic speeds, they decrease crime, they reduce noise, decrease crashes, manage stormwater, and increase health and livability. And I have specific research and notes about how street trees are so beneficial. And unfortunately, in my neighborhood, there are almost no street trees whatsoever. Essentially, there are like 0 street trees. In comparison, over near the Town Park neighborhood, the Straley Avenue Road Reconstruction Project included 81 brand-new street trees. So I tried to understand if that was, those were funded through community development or, you know, how those 81 trees were funded. And I haven't gotten any confirmation on that from how they were funded. The Peachtree Neighborhood Reconstruction Project, which is currently underway, has 100 street trees earmarked for that project. Both of those streets are directly adjacent to the park, which also has a lot of trees. So that's a very, you know, tree-friendly area, and those are low-volume streets that do not have the same kind of issues that we have over in Eggert and East Delavan. So anyway, I just wanted to, you know, point out again that, you know, Eggert has about 80 potential tree planting locations along the street. East Delavan has about 40 planting locations. And even, you know, Olcott Place, which did have road reconstruction, again, right along the city line, all the very large trees were completely removed. It was tree-lined and beautiful, and now it's like barren. There's not a single tree on Olcott Place. So my hope is to, you know, really, you know, understand if it's a matter of happening to see a Facebook post that you get a street tree, or if there's some strategy around, you know, where those are planted and for what reasons, and to, you know, hope that Eggert Road could be included, as well as East Delavan, in street tree planting for the future. So thank you.
Well, I'll just let you know that I also live in a neighborhood where we have very few trees. I think we like people to ask for the tree because they'll take care of it. Because if we plant trees where a lot of people don't want them because of the sidewalk lifting. So that's why we've done it where you should request it. And it might not happen this year. Most of those trees were spoken for. It's an ongoing list, so it might take you a year or 2. Although the fund, thank you to Linda, she's been keeping an eye on the tree fund. So hopefully we'll be able to plant some more. But right now, those trees, I guess, were all spoken for. As far as Straley, I believe it was on community block grant funds because that was considered a low mod income area. And what was the other question you had about Peachtree? Just so you know, part of that has to do with our DEC consent order, where we have to help with the drainage and also with less stormwater going into our sanitary. So that's why that's kind of been the focal point. Certain streets are targeted as a target area by the DEC to work from those sewer sheds. So that's probably why Peachtree was part of the same sewer shed that Straley is, correct, Brian, I think? Because yeah, that's where we have to be doing those inspections and things too, so.
I don't know exactly where the line is. It might be 2 different sewer sheds, and there could be like a northern
It
and
was
southern division.
that whole corridor around Walden and Harlem. So that's probably why I don't have anybody, engineering isn't here today, so.
Heather, usually when they do a full road reconstruction, that's when they'll plant trees afterwards. But get your name on that list. I mean, I know sometimes it takes a year or so, but I think it was last year we planted over 100 from that list. We had a list of 200 people that wanted trees.
Right.
We did knock off 100 last year. So, you know, I don't know what has accumulated since then, but put your name on the list, get your neighbors to put their names on that list.
Yeah. Okay, well, so I actually did get a street tree planted this past fall. So now we have on my street 2 new street trees from flyers I passed out 2 years ago. But anyway, my hope is, again, that, like, you know, in neighborhoods that are blighted and along the city line and, you know, have crime and traffic and, you know, unhealthy living conditions, that we are a little bit prioritized over streets that, you know, already have a lot of natural beauty and are in a more, you know, suburban kind of setting. You know, I think it would be, you know, the data shows that trees really make a huge improvement. So anyway, I just hope that that's something, you know, we could.
Okay, I'm going to have to
see. Okay, thank
move
you very
on.
much.
Thank you. Okay, Wally, you're up.
Did it start?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
going
good.
to, yes.
You know, this isn't about Tim Hortons on Harlem Road. It's about the process. And that's how I got involved, is I'm trying to understand the process. This came before the town board. And I remember my comment. I said, the last thing this town needs is another Tim Hortons. I mean, I have no skin in the game. I live on Dick Road. I could care less, right? I mean, I got a Tim Hortons walking distance to my house. I got 4 of them. And when people talk about them, and, you know, the comment about the Article 78 was me. Because Jerry always talks about Article 78, so I researched it. And I said, you know what? You don't even have to be an attorney to do Article 78. And you know, so my understanding is, please don't interrupt my time. My understanding is the fact that we have a set of codes that we live by in this town, rules that get passed in this very chamber. And everybody who comes in this room is equal under those laws. And you started a process and then changed the process. And all I intended was to come to find out, what's the process? That's the whole point of this, is what's the process? And all of a sudden, this black curtain comes up like it's Russia. And we can't talk about it anymore. We can only go through the attorney. The town attorney says this, and we can't have conversations with our elected officials, and we can't go see the people at work in the permit department to say, can you explain this process to me and how we got here? If somebody made a mistake and it shouldn't have come before you because it was an existing project, explain that to us. Because, you know, we're not the professionals here. You are elected to be the professionals here. He was hired to be the professional here. You know, I'm just a guy that lives in the town that says, you know what, I'd like to understand what this process is. Maybe I want to buy a franchise and put up a Tim Hortons 1.1 mile away from my house, right? But, you know, it seems to me that somewhere things went quiet, and all we wanted to do was to find out how, where, why, and when. And if you're telling us that we can't get that information, or we got to write foils to get that information, or we can't have conversations with people, and if conversations are being recorded in this town, when are the secret police going to show up at my house and handcuff me, throw a bag over my head, and leave me for dead in Alden? Not good. Not good. I think the people deserve some explanations regarding this. And it's not because it's a Tim Hortons, and it's not because it's a car dealership, and it's not because it's a Galleria Mall, but it's because the process that you guys legislate. You legislate the rules. We play by the rules. And that means you play by the rules too. Thank you for my time, and go $88,000.
I just had a quick question. How many petitions did we get for that Tim Hortons?
Okay, I will call this public comment period to a close. We will be going into attorney-client privilege. and adjourn immediately following that attorney-client privilege. So right now, we're going to go in. We really don't need to, but can we get a first and a second? Councilmember Hammer, seconded by Councilmember Kaminsky. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We're in attorney-client privilege, and then we'll adjourn immediately